Hi everyone. As Emily's already introduced me, my name's Grace. I'm a Rocket Phonics trainer, and I used to be a primary school teacher and phonics leader. So I'll get straight into all about the program. And if you have any questions, just pop them on the chat, and or just shout at me, put your hand up or whatever it is, and we'll answer them as we go. So we're going to have a little look at Rocket Phonics as a phonics program, looking at the reception in the year one part of the program, and also which is equivalent to from reception and year one. So we've got reception 4 to 5 year olds and year one 5 to 6 year olds, and then on to the next steps Rocket Phonics program, which is for our year two children who are 6 and 7 years old. And then looking a little bit of extra support and the resources that are alongside the program that we use. So there's lots and lots of phonics programs out there, lots that have been validated by the DFE, and it's really difficult to kind of choose which one and decide which one's the best for you and the children that you teach. But these 5 things that are listed here are probably the main things that kind of set Rocket Phonics apart from the rest and make it a bit unique compared to the others, because we've all got the same aim. We all want to teach our children to read, write and spell effectively, confidently, independently, but these things here are just something that kind of makes Rocket Phonics a bit special to the others. So this first point is that Rocket Phonics has got a real steady pace. So we introduce just 2 letter sounds per week to the children, unlike other phonics schemes who might introduce 3, 4, maybe even 1 letter sound a day a week for the children. And we found that sometimes that can just be a little bit overwhelming for them. So just slowing down the pace, stripping it right back to just 2 letter sounds per week, we found can be a lot more successful with regards to children retaining their letter sounds and developing those 2 big main skills with regards to phonics, their blending and segmenting. Looking at the structure, everything is mapped out for us in Rocket Phonics. So everything is planned out for us in half-termly blocks. And we know, and from that, we know exactly what we're going to be teaching at which point in the year. And that gives us real straightforward clarity. We know that which letter sound that we're teaching, whether it's a blending focus or whether it's a segmenting focus. As well as those things, we believe that our resources with Rocket Phonics are engaging for the children. The children really respond well to the interactive side of the resources and the online element, but also it's for us as the teachers. We're the ones that are using it and teaching with it every day. Sometimes phonics can have a bad rep for being a bit monotonous and a bit samey, but the fact that Rocket Phonics has got a mixture of being able to use and utilise online and print handheld resources and products, we just find that it can be appealing to both us as the teacher and the children. And then finally, it's all about empowering us as teachers. I think sometimes as teachers we are restricted to what we're teaching and told exactly what we have to teach and what we have to say. But actually it's about kind of giving some of that accountability and ownership back to the teacher, but having this really important healthy balance with regards to fidelity to the program and that loyalty to the program, and keeping to the structure of the program, but also making it your own and tailoring it for the children who you're going to be using it to teach phonics. So I've already spoke about the fact that we've stripped the teaching and learning side of things right back with regards to pace, to just 2 letter sounds per week. We really want our children to be the tortoise. It's not a race in a sense. We're not racing through the code at all. We're stripping it right back, which is why we've got those 2 letter sounds per week. We're just giving the children more time and giving them a better chance of internalizing that sound, being able to do lots of things with that sound and be confident with it. And that gives us real consistency with regards to the pattern of the week. And I'll show you the weekly structure in a little bit, but that pattern of the week with regards to introducing 2-letter sounds, the children know that each week they're going to learn 2-letter sounds each week. So even though we've stripped the pace of learning back quite a bit, it might be concerning to some people that, oh, are they learning enough sounds through each part of their learning journey? And the answer is absolutely yes. So by reception, or by the children by the time they reach 5 years old, the children will have learned 60-letter sounds. And then the next year, by the time the children are 6 years old, they'll have learned 70-letter sounds. And then when we get into the next year, the kind of the third year of Rocket Phonics, that next steps, at that point they would have really embedded the content and embedded the code. So by the time the children are 6 and 7 years old, so our year 2 equivalent children, this is the time where the children are exploring with the code, they're more confident with the code, they're manipulating the sounds, and they are revising those sounds, or doing more with those sounds, but it's with a really big heavy focus on spelling, and we're really kind of pushing that correct spelling at that point in their learning. So having a little look at the part of the programme for our reception and year 1 children, which is the equivalent of 4 and 5 years old and 5 and 6 year olds. So it's that kind of very early start of their learning. So this is that weekly structure that I briefly mentioned. So we've got our 5-day week, and this is kind of how we introduce and learn those 2-letter sounds throughout the week. So on a Monday, we introduce our first letter sound, and that's with a blending focus. So everything that we do with that letter sound is building our skills for reading. On the Tuesday, on the second day, we keep that letter sound, and we're still focusing on that same letter sound that we introduced the day before, but now we're flipping the focus, and it's with a segmenting focus. So everything that we're doing with that letter sound now, we're focusing on building children's writing and children's spelling skills with that letter sound. On the Wednesday, we're now introducing the second letter sound of the week, and it's back to a blending focus. So we're back to building our reading skills. On the Thursday, we're keeping that second letter sound, but which you've probably guessed already, we're flipping the focus and it's back to segmenting. So we have Monday, Tuesday, first letter sound, blending, segmenting. Wednesday, Thursday, second letter sound, blending, segmenting. On the Friday, on the 5th day, we advise that things like common exception words are focused on. It might be a bit of consolidation of the 2-letter sounds that you've done that week. If we're kind of working towards the end of a unit, or the end of kind of a part of the year where it's coming to a close, we might be looking at doing a little bit of assessment or a little bit of enrichment based on the learning that we've done with the children recently. So with regards to the approach of Rocket Phonics, we're still following that all-important teaching and learning cycle. Our teaching and learning cycle is kind of where we lean on for a really good structured teaching lesson. So any lesson can follow this teaching and learning cycle, and it's really effective to make sure that we fit every part of a lesson in that's important for the children to make progress and to learn and add value to their learning. So as you can see, we've got 2 teaching and learning cycles, and they're exactly the same. They both include revisit and review when we're going over the content that we've taught the children. They both include the teach aspect of the lesson, where we add value to the children's learning and their knowledge, and we're giving them new information to learn, which is so good. We have got our practice section where the children are having a go at what it is that we've taught them, and then they're applying their knowledge and their skills to a task, to an activity. And as you can see, on a blending day and a segmenting day, they're following exactly the same structure. It's just the skill, the focus that is different. So with a blending day, this is what a blending day may look like. So on a blending day, we are recapping, sorry, and we're going over and revising and checking over previously learned sounds. And we're mostly going to be using our flashcards to do that. So we can use our flashcards. We can either have our print flashcards, or we can have our online digital flashcards to flick through and check that we're happy with children's making sure that they've remembered those letter sounds. Then we're introducing our first letter sound of the week, and we're using our big book story spread that links to that letter sound to draw out the new vocabulary, including that new letter sound, to expose children to really high quality vocabulary. These big books are completely interactive, and they're full of really fabulous high quality vocabulary that not all children will have experienced from other texts, from other kind of age related stories. So we're really kind of opening up children's ears to exposing them to that really, really lovely language. And then we're using our pupil practice booklets. These pupil practice booklets, the way that they are organised and structured, follows the weekly structure. So they have a double page spread, and the left hand side is always looking at our blending day for that letter sound. The right hand side of that double spread is always looking at the segmenting day for that letter sound. So this is just a print screen of the left hand side of the blending tasks for the J sound. And then if you would imagine on this side of the booklet, there would be a right hand side of the double page spread, which would still be J, but it would be for the next day for the segmenting. So this is the left-hand side for blending in the practice booklets. And then onto the apply stage, and we'll be reading a text that is recommended to us from the weekly planning, from the online platform, that the children will be able to read and decode and to understand, because we would have taught and the children would have learned the parts of the code, the letter sounds that are included in that most recently decodable text. So onto a segmenting day. So on the second day of that letter sound, we're still following that all-important teacher learning cycle, but every time now we're thinking of segmenting, we're thinking of the children hearing the sounds and finding the letters. Whereas when the children were looking at the blending focus, they were seeing the letter shape on the page and recording the sound. Now we want them to hear the sound and find the letters. So we're looking at revisit and review. So we might do a little bit of air writing of previous letter sounds that the children have been taught. We might do a little bit of sound bingo using our sounds mats or sound cards, do a matching activity where the children are hearing the sounds that they've been taught and they've learned, and they might be matching it to an object or a picture. So there's just a few suggestions and ideas. Onto the teach, where we might be using our flip chart to do a little bit of modelling with regards to sentence writing, or a little bit of sentence dictation that children can also join in with. We might do a little bit of oral blending, segmenting for spelling through counting our sounds within the words. So lots of ideas there. Onto the practice. So this will be the right hand side of this letter sound, right hand side of the pupil practice booklets, working through these pupil practice booklets, which we're going to look into more detail in just a little bit later. And then onto the apply stage, where we might give children a picture stimulus, a video stimulus, and get them to apply their spelling and their writing skills that they've been learning in this lesson, in previous lessons, to maybe write a few sentences or write a caption or write they might have a specific writing task linked to their skills that they've been learning. So thinking about reading book provision, so reception in year 1, so our 4 to 5 year olds and our 5 to 6 year olds. So in class, as as Rocket Phonics as a program, we really advise that whole class and whole group phonics teaching. So we're not about kind of sort of splitting children up into small ability groups. We want children to be working through the code together and as closely as we possibly can. So in class, the children, this is sort of a year 1 level child, which is sort of 5 to 6 years old. We'll be working on a blue target practice reader, which focuses on this part of the code, the eyes part of the code, with all these different alternative graphings. This is because it matches the level of teaching, and it's there for the practice and application of the teaching in class for children to have a go at, where our teachers and adults are in the classroom, in the learning environment to support the children. Also in class, we might have other decodable books. We might have older style banded books, library books, books for guided reading, and books for book areas or book corners. In the with those texts and the stories that might be sent home for children for that home practice, for the majority of children, it will be a colour banded level book that is most likely for most children either 1, maybe 2 colour bands behind where they are in class, because we want, at this point where children are taking a text home, we want them to be really, really confident and be able to read that text majorly independent. They're reading it for consolidation. They're reading this text to develop their other reading skills, such as inference, vocabulary, sequencing, retrieval, etc. And it needs to match the child's independent reading ability. So we want them to be able to read this book largely independently, to apply their learning that they've learned in school. And for most children, it's 1, maybe 2 colour bands behind where they are in class. As well as that, we might also have a free choice library book, and the child also may also choose a book that might be used for sharing reading, to be read to the child, to listen to someone read it to them and to enjoy the story. So having a look at year 2, which is our 6 and 7 year olds, so our Rocket Phonics Next Steps programme. So with year 2, these are kind of the main points when we think about the Next Steps programme and kind of how it is really consistent with regards to the first part of the programme for our 4, 5 and 6 year olds, and how it has a really nice follow on and progression into the next stage of their learning, really. So at this point, the children will have learned all of the code, and apart from there may be a few extra parts of the code that didn't quite fit into the earlier stages. So these are just plotted in really gradually and gently. So we're revisiting the code and we're going back over and revising the code as we would have in the previous parts of the programme. And again, as I say, there's a small amount of extra. There's a really big heavy focus on spelling, because lots of the time, as soon as children have kind of completed their phonics in a sense, normally by the end of year 1, normally as kind of a 6 year old and 5, 6 years old, normally, a lot of the time, what can happen is the children are moved straight onto a spelling programme that doesn't have enough of an emphasis on phonics, and then children begin to lose their phonics skills, and they start to flounder and they start to regress. So this programme kind of makes sure that doesn't happen, in a sense. So thinking about kind of the progression from the main part of the programme, from our 4, 5 and 6 year olds, it's got a real gentle progression into the next stage, into that next steps part of the programme, to enable children to embed that knowledge and to practice it, feel confident with it, and be able to manipulate those sounds in a way that shows that they're confident with using them in lots of different types of words, with reading and with spelling. So we've got this layered learning kind of approach with fluidity And what I mean by that, and we're going to be going over this in a little bit, but with regards to layered learning throughout the week and what a week looks like in this Next Steps programme, we're gradually building on and layering on each day. So each day we kind of add to and develop what we've just looked at the day before, and it's about being really fluid with regards to going back a few days and flicking back through to what we did at the previous day and added on that new learning that we would have explored in the current lesson. So it's a real kind of fluid structure. Got a really big heavy focus on basic literacy skills, things like leveled reading, spelling alternatives, homophones, suffixes, contractions, possessive apostrophes, and really big heavy focus on vocabulary. And that fifth point there, at this point in children's learning, when they get to kind of 6 and 7 years old, it's about kind of handing back the ownership to them. At 4, 5 and 6 years old, they are still quite young. It's the very kind of initial part of their learning journey. But at this point now, the children, we really want to encourage them to take ownership, especially with regards to their handwriting and starting to develop that cursive joint handwriting. Obviously with really explicit modelling and teaching and explanation from us, but we're kind of handing back the ownership now and saying, you know, this is your responsibility to really get your cursive joint handwriting up to scratch, because they've got all that knowledge with the sounds. They shouldn't be that shouldn't be taking up too much brain space in their kind of working brain memory. It should be that should be something that's getting pretty confident, and they should be able to work on those finer details such as handwriting. And that 6th point, we really again advocate that whole class teaching, and that the whole class moving through the code and moving through the content as closely as we can. But it's got a really clever thing with this next steps and the way that Abby structured it, and it's something that she calls dual aspect teaching, and that's really important to enable those with additional needs to still come along that learning journey with all of their peers. And I'll talk more to you about the dual aspect teaching. I've got a few kind of progress tables and things, but it's about all children being able to access the content, the teaching content, and being exposed to it. So if there is any gaps, those gaps aren't widening, and we're keeping those children exposed to where they should be, in a sense, for a better word, for their age-related level. So this is the weekly structure for that Next Steps programme for our 6 and 7 year olds. So we've got our 5-day week again, and as you can see, we are looking every day at the sound A. So all of our focus, the whole week, it's an A week. And then so on, each week will be a new sound with all of our different alternative graphemes for that sound. So Monday, we've got A as in AI and AY. I'll just use letter names for kind of ease. A as in split digraph A and A on its own. A as in 8 and A as in AI again. We're repeating that one. And then A as in EA and EY. On a Friday, it's highlighted in a different colour, and that's because if you as a school or as an education kind of provision setting already have your kind of cursive handwriting approach pretty solid, and you're happy with it and it's showing really good progress, then it can be something that you miss out from this part. You don't have to include this. So we really do highly encourage using our approach for this cursive handwriting. It really kind of strips it back. It's nice and simple. There's just 2 joins to learn. But if something that you've already using works and everyone's happy with it, that's fine. But so this can be done discreetly. It's not directly linked to the rest of the week. So lesson structure, again, we've got that all important teaching and learning cycle. But as you'll see now, we've kind of pushed back, we've fused our blending and segmenting back together. So it's back to that kind of basic skills, basic literacy skills lessons. We're bringing them all back together now. We've had 2 years of having those skills separated, and we're bringing it back together. So we've got our revisit and review. Again, we're using our flashcards, reviewing our sounds that the children have been taught previously, using the decodable words on the back. onto the big book story spread, again using our big books, our interactive big books on our interactive whiteboards online to pull that learning, and we're gathering our word examples that show examples of those alternative graphemes of that sound of the week. So we will be looking for words with the grapheme, with this grapheme for A, just A on its own, the AI grapheme, the split digraph A, the AY grapheme, and we'll be gathering those throughout the week depending on the focus of each day. Then onto our people practice booklet, and as you can see, we're back to kind of a double page spread. At this point, our children are more mature learners. They're much more confident with their code. We're just expecting more of them in the lesson. And then onto the apply, we've got our leveled reading book, which matches the in-class teaching, the picture of the in-class teaching. We can use this for our daily, independent or paired reading. We might use it for adult group guided reading, or weekly adult group guided reading in class or as small groups. So reading book provision for our 6 and 7 year olds. So again, we've got in class, we've got our leveled reader. For example, this is a turquoise leveled reader, and that's because it matches the class teaching level pitch. It's there for practice and application of what it is that we are revising with that code. Is what it is that we're focusing on, what our in-class pitch, and it's what we want the children to practice, exactly what it is that we are that we're doing in class. We might have other leveled readers in class, library or choosing books, and our book corner books as well. With regards to the book that goes home, it's exactly the same concept as our 4 and 5 year olds, our 5 and 6 year olds. It's generally sending home the book band that is 1 colour below, maybe 2 below for some children. But whatever colour band it is, it's got to match the child's independent reading ability. We want them to be reading for independent application. We want them to be reading for consolidation, again, for understanding and building their love and their pleasure of reading. And they can do that when they're reading a story that they understand and they can read independently and enjoy. We don't want them to be struggling. As well as that, we might also include taking home a free choice library book, and again, the child's choice to listen to a text being read to them. So having a little look at the resources. So with our 4 and 5 year olds and our 5 and 6 year olds, that kind of first part of the programme, there's that we have our online subscription, and that includes the big books and ebook versions of the texts, teaching plans, which include weekly plans, daily plans, half-termly plans, our flashcards, continual professional development videos and materials that you can download and print as much as you like for display. There are a fully decodable series of reading books, flashcards, which are in print as well as online, and then termly people practice booklets for children to actually have a go at what it is that we taught them. For our 6 and 7 year old, again, we've got our online subscription, including exactly the same content with practice reading books, and because they're going through their content in a quicker rate, they're getting through people practice booklets quicker, so it's 1 per half term, so just a quicker rate of moving through those. So we also have 3 teacher guides, and these kind of run through the programme in the introduction section. These are available on the online platform to download and kind of skim and scan through. The introductory section can be really kind of insightful and useful as kind of reference of where to find specific things in the programme, the pedagogy behind how it's been planned and structured. It includes the daily plans, the weekly plans, support guidance for those children who are possibly slower to learn or have an additional barrier to learning, assessment trackers, and lots and lots of types of assessments to see how our children are progressing. So there's print and online forms of the flashcards. So flashcards that we can hold in print, and as well as flashcards that we can display online that can be loaded up from the big book, and we can flick through them as an online deck. We can download and print them and use them in that way as well. With the big books, they are available just online, so they're really, really great resources to kind of as your main meat of your lesson. Really, it's where you as a teacher are pulling all that content linked to that new letter sound of that day. So they include all audio, so there's an audio storyteller option, so either you can read the story or you can read it for you in a really lovely storyteller voice, and again you've got that option to mix and match between those two. Interactive flashcards, as well as the big book and the story and the toolbar. Within the toolbar, there's games, and that links to that letter sound and previous letter sounds that have been taught. So it's not something that's included in the actual lesson, but as an extra add-on, as something that you might include in children's free time that's still purposeful to what you've been teaching. They also have games available. There's the sound lozenges, the little blue and yellow bubbles. They're completely interactive, and when you click them, it tells you what it says, it tells you the sounds, it reads the word to you. And there's also a full toolbar where you can highlight, underline, use interactive post-it notes to list and jot down ideas and discussion points that you've had with your children. So this is just a big book in action. It just shows you a few of the features. So I'll just play this for you really quickly and then move on.
Jack and Ruby loved going into the woods in autumn, when the leaves turned yellow, auburn and red. Paula had shown them time and again which nuts, berries and mushrooms were safe to pick. Jack began to taunt his sister. He told her the woods were haunted, but Ruby wasn't listening. Aw, auburn. Aw, astronaut. Listen and use the online keyboard to spell each word correctly. Author. Author.
Nice. That was just a little kind of idea of what a big book is all about. And again. Right then, so then we've got our pupil practice booklets. So for our 4, 5 and 6-year-olds, that first part of the programme, it's that double page spread, and we're looking at blending our blending skills on the left for that first day and our segmenting skills on the right for the second day. And then when we get to our 6 and 7-year-olds, our year 2 next steps programme, it's that double page spread. And these work through the depths of learning. So they look at the sound at code level, at word level, and then eventually, as we get deeper into the programme and children become more mature and confident with their sounds, it gets into sentence and text levels as well. So also to kind of support and enhance the learning that you're doing in class, and as I sort of referencing your upfront teaching and for children, we have lots of resources that are valuable to download and print for display and for visual support for children. So we've got our full sounds maps and alphabetic code charts, sound family posters, and they can be used for children to have in front of them when they're in the lesson. They can be used, they can be downloaded and printed and blown up and put on display. They can be handed out to be sent home once children have got to the end of that sounds mat. They can be uploaded onto websites. Use them in your segmenting lesson, for example, for sound bingo. Use them, chop them up into small little mini cards and use them any way that you want to. They're really, really versatile. There's also a whole kind of bank of CPD videos, kind of short snippets with Abby, talking through the programme, talking through parts of the programme and the idea behind the programme, just to give you extra information about what she's included and why. Reading books, again, they're available in print and online as ebooks. So there's a whole plethora of types and genres of books, sorry, and of reading books of texts, and they're really high quality with regards to the content that's in them, with regards to the illustrations and the people who have wrote them. Really, really lovely authors and really great ideas to kind of capture children's imagination and their ideas and things, and really kind of get them engrossed into text, into reading. This is a few examples of a reception to year 1, so 4 to 5 and 5 to 6 year old texts from pink A level up to orange. So as you can see, lots of different types of text, lots of different types of illustration, real pictures, photographs, labels, captions, different types and lengths of sentences depending on children's reading ability and where they are in their reading journey. Here we've got there's a couple of examples of a text sort of 6 to 7 year old level, which is turquoise to white level. So again, lots of different types of text, fiction, non-fiction, poetry, all from different genres, using lots of different types of displays and formatting to kind of capture children's interests. So with regards to kind of CPD and training, there's in-person and virtual training that's available. There's a whole team of trainers that are available to deliver training for our 4 to 5 year olds, our 5 to 6 year olds, and our 6 to 7 year olds, that whole kind of first really early reading journey. And as well as that, there are online sessions that can be recorded and you can kind of dip in and out of them for 6 months as well. So lots of kind of opportunities for that. And then there's free online trial of Rocket Phonics, which is online. You can speak to Rising Stars kind of consultants. They can work with you to build exactly what it is that you want from the program, and specific resources, as well as any CPD. Also, there is a really great active Facebook group called, I think it's like Rising Stars Teacher Group, or Rocket Phonics Teachers Group. If you search something like that, it'll come up, and there's really great active conversation on there, really useful, of Rocket Phonics schools and teachers asking and answering questions and sharing ideas and advice and things. There's a Rising Stars YouTube channel where there's lots of recorded lessons and bite-sized information for you to kind of dip in and out of, and to use as much as you want to. And also Abby's pre-recorded self-study training videos can be really helpful and useful to kind of practice and get your head around the program and kind of explore it further. So, I'll come back to you. I know we've got a question in the chat, so I'll just stop sharing. I'll come back to you. And if anybody's got any questions or anything, please feel free to kind of